We should accept them, but just like in the past. Hiroyuki Itsuki's insight into the true issue surrounding the foreign worker issue. Hiroyuki Itsuki, author, September 2025. Japanese people have an extremely strong digestive ability. Regarding the issue of accepting foreigners, which was a hot topic in the recent House of Councillors election, author Hiroyuki Itsuki has long believed that Japan should accept more people from abroad. These days, the Japanese first rhetoric has become somewhat emotional, but what is the true meaning behind Itsuki's argument, given his deep knowledge of Japanese culture and history? We present an excerpt and edited version from his book, The Power to Give Up, which answers questions from readers. The foreign country actually mixed in with traditional Japanese question, with the word globalization being used so frequently these days. I feel it's necessary for us Japanese to re-examine where we stand. Having traveled extensively both in Japan and abroad, what does Mr. Itsuki think of Japan and the Japanese people? Answer: Japan is an exotic country. In 1970, the then Japanese National Railways, Junior, launched a campaign called Discover Japan with the aim of increasing the number of individual travelers. The concept was Discover Japan, rediscover yourself. Large posters were posted at stations throughout the country, and special features were published in newspapers and on television, creating a sort of national movement. When the Discover Japan campaign came to a close, Wagao Fujioka of Dentsu, who was the campaign's producer, came to me and asked, "Do you have any other new ideas for the next theme?" The theme I proposed was Exotic Japan, as older readers may remember. Exotic means having a foreign atmosphere. Why did you choose exotic to describe Japan? This is because many of the things we think of as typically Japanese or traditional Japanese actually have a lot of foreign elements mixed in. Take Kyoto's Gion Festival, for example. This traditional festival has a history of over 1,000 years in the ancient capital of Kyoto, and the Yama, floats, and Hoko, floats, parading down the main streets between the buildings are truly exotic. The floats and hoko are decorated with Chinese carpets and brocade, Persian and Turkish carpets, European tapestries, and Indian embroidery. Mount Koya is the headquarters of Shingon esoteric Buddhism and has long been considered one of the sacred sites of Japanese Buddhism. However, many of the Buddhas enshrined there, including Dainichi Nairai, are deities of Indian origin. In Shibamata, the hometown of Torisan, the protagonist of the film Otoko W8 Surai Yo, there is a shrine to Taishakutan, a deity from India. Taishakutan is also an Indian deity. One mistaken idea we often make is to believe that when we visit ancient, historic places, there is something uniquely Japanese there. However, this is not the case. When we peel back the surface of ancient Japan and tradition, what emerges is an international, exotic, foreign image. This perspective is also important when thinking about Japan and the Japanese people. Look at the national side as well as the international side. Japanese culture is a diverse mix of elements. The mainstream is probably the East Asian route via China and the Korean peninsula, but there are also southern routes, and northern cultures from Siberia and Russia have also been incorporated. The Japanese ability to digest other cultures. So, if we reconsider what Japan is, starting from the premise that it is an exotic country, what kind of image emerges? A clue to this is to look at the process by which the diverse cultures that arrived in Japan developed and took root in this country and its climate. The Japanese have an extremely strong ability to digest. By ability to digest, I mean the ability to eagerly learn cultures and knowledge from abroad and adapt them to suit their own country and climate. For example, even within the same Buddhism, Japanese Buddhism is different from both the Buddhism of Buddha, primitive Buddhism, and the Buddhism of China. This is because Japanese Buddhism has developed uniquely over many years. The assimilation of foreign cultures is not unique to Japan, countries all over the world do so. Rome assimilated Greek culture, and European countries assimilated Greek and Roman cultures to build their own cultures. The same is true of Christianity. The Church of England was born in the United Kingdom, and the Russian Orthodox Church is found in Russia. I have always thought that a country's unique character can be seen in how it assimilates different cultures. However, to be honest, I cannot definitively say, this is what Japanese assimilation looks like. The Japanese cannot be lumped together. In my book The Japanese Heart 1, Kodansha, later published in paperback by Chikuma Shobo, I wrote the following about Kyoto. Just like peeling an onion, when you think of Kyoto as a certain town, after a while, you find that, no, not quite, maybe it was like that after all. And then, beneath that, a new face of Kyoto emerges. It feels like a town with an indescribable depth, filled with mysteries. If this is the case for just the city of Kyoto, then the country of Japan as a whole is even more elusive. Having traveled throughout Japan and lived in some places for several years, if there's one thing I can say for sure, it's that there are many different kinds of Japanese people. Just as dialects vary not only by region but also by community, even within villages, Japanese people cannot be lumped together as a single entity. This doesn't really answer your question, but when I try to put my own feelings into words in response to the question, what is Japan, it ends up being something like this. It was people from abroad who built the capital of Japan. Question: in recent years, news about the expansion of foreign worker acceptance has become a hot topic. How do you view the current issue of foreign workers, and by extension, the issue of immigration? Answer: foreigners should be accepted. However, as in the past, in the book The Japanese Heart One mentioned earlier, I wrote the following ideas for revitalizing Osaka: actively accept more foreigners as residents, create an environment where foreigners make up the majority of the population and live there. This way of thinking hasn't changed to this day, and I believe Japan should continue to accept more people from abroad. However, what I mean by accepting foreigners is fundamentally different in spirit from the current discussions at home. Looking back at history, to Japan in the past, foreign countries were developed countries, and the people who came from abroad were skilled in arts and crafts or civil engineering, or had special knowledge and information. They were what you might call the elite. The other day I had the opportunity to visit Nishijin in Kyoto, and tracing the route of the people there leads to the Hotta clan, who came from the continent. Most other traditional cultures and industries also have their origins in immigrants who arrived via the continental peninsula. We tend to think of Kyoto as Japan's ancient capital and a place where Japan's traditional culture remains, but it was none other than people from abroad who brought with them the cutting-edge knowledge, technology, and cultural artifacts of the time, and who built Japan's capital city. The current discussion of the foreign worker issue in Japan focuses primarily on how to secure cheap labor for simple tasks. This approach is simplistic and, I think, brims with arrogance. As long as we maintain this mindset, the country will only weaken and wither. A presence that brings in different cultures and provides inspiration, Japan's population will continue to decline. As a result, the number of people engaged in simple labor will decrease, as will the number of pioneers who pave the way with new ideas and technology. That's why perhaps what Japan needs going forward is to actively accept foreigners, just as we did in the past. I also think international marriages should become more widespread. In the world of sports, we see the success of half-Japanese and quarter-Japanese athletes, such as tennis player Naomi Osaka, track and field athlete Asuka Cambridge, and baseball player Yu Darvish. Rather than viewing foreigners as cheap labor, we should think of them as people who bring in different cultures and inspire Japan. I believe that both countries and companies need to consider the issue of foreign workers from this perspective. Hiroyuki Itsuki, writer.